The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 2, Section 1, Chapter 3. Hints on Practical Spirituality. Hints on Practical Spirituality. Lecture delivered at the Home of Truth, Los Angeles, California. This morning, I shall try to present to you some ideas about breathing and other exercises. We have been discussing theories so long that now it will be well to have a little of a practical. The great many books have been written in India upon this subject, just as your people are practical in many things. So it seems our people are practical in this line. Five persons in this country will join their heads together and say, we will have a joint stock company, and in 5 hours it is done. In India, they could not do it in 50 years. They are so unpractical in matters like this. But mark you, if a man starts a system of philosophy, however wide its theory may be, it will have followers. For instance, a sect is started to teach that if a man stands on one leg for 12 years, one day and night, he will be salvation. There will be 100 ready to stand on one leg. All the suffering will be quite borne. There are people who keep their arms upraised for years to gain religious merit. I have seen hundreds of them, and mind you, they are not always ignorant fools. And mind you, they are not always ignorant fools, but are men who will astonish you with the depth and breadth of their intellect. So you see, the world practice is also relative. We are always making this mistake in judging others. We are always inclined to think that our little mental universe is all that is. Our ethics, our morality, our sense of duty, our sense of utility are the only things that are worth having. The other day, when I was going to Europe, I was passing through Marseilles, where a bullfight was being held. All the Englishmen in the steamer were mad with excitement, abusing and criticizing the whole thing as cruel. When I reached England, I heard a party of prize fighters who had been to Paris and were kicked out unceremoniously by the French, who thought prize fighting were brutal. When I hear these things in the various countries, I begin to understand the marvelous saying of Christ: Judge not that you be no judged. Judge not that you be not judged. The more you learn, the more we find out how ignorant we are, how multiform and multi-sided is this mind of man. When I was a boy, I used to criticize the ascetic practices of my countrymen. Great preachings in our own hands have criticized them. The greatest man that was ever born, Buddha himself, criticized them. But all the same, as I am growing older, I feel that I have no right to judge. I am growing older. I feel that I have no right to judge. Sometimes I wish that, in spite of all these incongruities, I had one fragment of their power to do and suffer. Often I think that my judgment and my criticism do not proceed from any dislike of torture, but from sheer cowardice, because I cannot do it. I dare not do it. Then you see that strength, power, and courage are things which are very peculiar. We generally say, I courageous man, a brave man, a darling man, but we must bear in mind that courage or bravery or any other trait does not always characterizes the man. The same man who would rush to the mouth of the cannon shrinks from the knife of the surgeon, and another man who never dares to face a gun will calmly severe bear a severe surgical operation if need be. Now, in judging others, you must always define your terms of courage or greatness. The man whom I am criticizing as not good may be wonderfully so in some points in which I am not. Take another example. You often note when people are discussing as to what man and woman can do, always the same mistake is made. They think they show man at his best because he can fight, for instance, and undergo tremendous physical exertions. And this is pitted against the physical weakness and non combating quality of man, of woman. This is unjust. Woman is a courageous as man. Each is equally good in his or her way. What man can bring up a child with such patience, endurance, and love as the woman can? The one has developed the power of doing, the other the power of suffering. If woman cannot act, neither can man suffer. The whole universe is one of the perfect balance. I do not know, but someday we may wake up and find that the mere womb has something which balances our manhood. The most wicked person may have some good qualities that I entirely lack. I see such a splendid physicist. He eats, he drinks to his heart's content without knowing perhaps what sickness is, while I am suffering every minute. How many times would I have been glad to have changed my brain for his body? The whole universe is only a wave and hollow. There can there can be no way without a hollow. Balance everywhere. You have one thing great, your neighbors has another thing great. When you are judging men and women, judge them by the standard of their respective greatness. One cannot be in other's shoe. The one has no right to say that the other is wicked. In the same old superstition that says if this is done, the world will go to ruin. But in spite of this, the world has not yet come to ruin. It was said in this country that if the Negroes were freed, the country would go to ruin. But did it? It was also said that if the masses were educated, the world would come to ruin. But it was only made better. Several years ago, a book came out depicting the worst things that could happen to England. The writer showed that as workmen's wage were rising, English commerce was declining. A cry was raised that the workmen in England were exorbitant in their demands and that the Germans worked for less wages. A commission was sent over to Germany to investigate this and it reported that the German laborers received higher wages. Why was it so? Because of the education of the masses. Then how about the world going to ruin if the masses are educated? In India, especially, we meet with all forges all over the land. They want to keep everything secret from the masses. These people come to very satisfying conclusion that they are the cream de la cream of the universe. They believe they cannot be hurt by these dangerous experiments. It is only the masses that can be hurt by them. Now, coming back to the practical, the subject of the practical application of psychology has been taken up in India from very early times. About 1400 years before Christ, there flourished in India a great philosopher, Patanjali by name. He collected all the facts, evidence, and researches in psychology and took advantage of all these experiments accumulated in the past. Remember, this world is very old. It was not created only 2 or 3,000 years ago. It is thought here in the West that society began 1800 years ago with the New Testament. Before that, there was no society. That may be true with regard to the West, but it is not true as regard to the whole world. Often, while I was lecturing in London, a very intellectual and intelligent friend of mine would argue with me, and one day, after using his weapon against me, he suddenly exclaimed, "But why did not your rishis come to England to teach us?" I replied, "Because there was no England to come to. Would they preach to the forest?" 50 years ago said 50 years ago said Ingersoll to me, Ingersoll to me, you would have been hanged in this country if you had come to preach. You would have been burnt alive, or you would have been stoned out of the villages. So there is nothing unreasonable in the supposition that civilization existed 1400 years before Christ. It is not yet settled whether civilization has always come from the lower to the higher, or the same arguments and the proofs that have been brought forward to prove this proposition was also be used to demonstrate that the savage is only a degraded civilized man. The people in China, for instance, can never believe that civilization sprang from the savage state because the contrary is within their experience. But when you talk of civilization of America, what you mean is the perpetuality and the growth of your own race. It is very easy to believe that Hindus who have been declining for 100, 600 years were highly civilized in the past. We cannot prove that it is not so. There is not one single instant of any civilization being spontaneous. There was not a race in the world which became civilized unless otherwise another civilized race came and mingled with that race. The origin of civilization must have belonged, so to say, to one or two races who went abroad, spread their ideas, and intermingled with other races, and thus civilization spread. For practical purpose, let us talk in the language of the modern science. But I must say you to bear in mind that as there is religious superstition, so also there is a superstition in the matter of science. There are priests who take up religious work as their specialties. So also there are priests of physical laws, scientists. As soon as the great scientists named like Darwin and Huxley is cited, we follow blindly. It is the fashion of the day. 99% of what we call scientific knowledge is mere theories, and many of them are no better than other old superstitions of ghosts with many heads and hands. But with this difference that the latter differentiated men a little from stocks and stones. True science asks us to be cautious, just as we should be careful with priests, so we should be careful with the scientist. Begin with disbelief, analyze, test, prove everything, and then take it. Some of the most current belief of modern science has not been proved. Even in such a science as mathematics, the vast majority of its theory are only working hypothesically. With the advent of the greater knowledge, they will be thrown away. In 1400 BC, a great sage made an attempt to arrange, analyze, and generalize upon certain psychological facts. He was followed by many others who took up a part of what he had discovered and made a specific studies of them. The Hindus alone of all ancient races took up the study of this branch of knowledge in right earnest. I am teaching you now about it, but how many of you will practice it? How many days, how many months will it be before you give it up? You are impractical on this subject. In India, they will perceive for ages and ages. You will be astonished to hear that they have no churches, no common prayers, or anything of the kind, but they every day still practice the breathing and try to concentrate the mind, and that is the chief part of devotion. These are many points. Every Hindu must do this. It is the religion of the country. Only each one may have a specific method, a special form of breathing, a special form of concentration. And what is the one specific method? Even one's wife need not know. The father need not know the son. But they all have to do this. And there is nothing occult about these things. The word occult has no bearing on them. Near the Ganga, thousands and thousands of people may be seen daily sitting on its bank, breathing and concentrating with closed eyes. There may be two reasons that make certain practices impracticable, impracticable for generality of mankind. One is the teacher hold that ordinary people are not fit for them. 1. The teacher hold that the ordinary people are not fit for them. There may be some truth in this, but it is due to more or to pride. The second is the fear of persecution. A man, for instance, would not like the practice breathing publicity publicly in this country because he would be thought so queer. It is not the fashion here. On the other hand, in India, if a man prayed, "Give us this day our daily bread," people would laugh at him. No, nothing could be more foolish to the Hindu mind than that. Then to say, "Our Father, which art in heaven." The Hindu, when he worships, thinks that God is within himself. According to the yogis, there are three principal now currents. One they call the Ida, the other Pingala, and the middle one Sushumana. And all these are inside the spinal column. The Ida and Pingala are the Ida left and Pingala right are the clusters of nerves, while the middle one, that is the Sushumana, is hollow and is not the cluster of nerves. This Sushumana is closed, and for the ordinary man it is of no use, for he works through the Ida and Pingala only. Currently, currents are continuously going down and coming up through these nerves, carrying orders all over the body through other nerves running to the different organs of the body. It is regulation. It is the regulation and the bringing into rhythm of the Ida and Pingala. That is the great object of breathing. But that itself is nothing. It is only so much air taken into the lungs, except for purification of purifying the blood. It is of no more use. There is nothing occult in the air that we take in with our breath and assimilate to purify the blood. The action is merely a motion. This motion can be reduced to a unit movement we call pran. And everywhere, all movements are the various manifestation of this pran. This pran is electricity. It is magnesium. It is thrown out by the brain as thoughts. Everything is pran. It is a moving or it is moving the sun, the earth, the moon, the stars. We say whatever is in this universe has been projected by the vibration of the pran. The highest result of vibration is thoughts. If there be any higher, we cannot conceive of it. The nerve, Ida and Pingala, works through the pran. It is the pran that is moving every part of the body, becoming the different forces. Give up that old idea that God is something that produces the effect and sits on the throne despising justice. In working, we become exhausted because we use up so much pran. The breathing exercise called pranayam brings about regulations of the breathing, rhythmic action of the pran. When the pran is working rhythmically, everything works properly. When the yogis get control over this own body, when the yogis get control over their own body, if there is any disease in any part, they know that the pran is not rhythmic there and they direct the pran to the affected part until the rhythm is established. Just as you can control the pran in your own body, so if you are powerful enough, you can control even from here another man's pran in India. It is all one. There is no break. Unity is the law. Physically, psychically, mentally, morally, metaphysically, it is all one. Life is only a vibration. That which vibrates this ocean of ether vibrates you, just as in the lake various strips of ice of various degree of solidity are formed, or as in an ocean a vapor there are various degree of density, so is the universe an ocean of matter. This is an ocean of ether in which we find sun, moon, star, and ourselves in different states of solidity, but the continuity is not broken. It is the same throughout. Now, when we study metaphysics, we come to know the world is one, not that the spiritual, the material, the mental, and the world of energies are separate. It is all one, but seen from different planes of vision. When you think of yourself as a body, you forget that you are a mind. And when you think of yourself as a mind, you forget that you are a body. There is only one thing that you are. You can see it either as matter or body, or you can see it as mind or spirit. Both life and death are but old superstitions. None was ever born, none will ever die. One changes one's position, that is all. I am sorry to see in the West how much they make of death, always trying to catch a little life. Give us life after that. Give us life. They are so happy if anybody tells them that are going to live afterwards. How can I ever doubt such a thing? How can I imagine that I am dead? Try to think of yourself as dead, and you will see that you are present to see your own dead body. Life is such a wonderful reality that you cannot for a moment forget it. You may be always doubt that you exist. This is the first fact of consciousness. I am. Who can imagine a state of the things which never exist? It is the most self evident of all truths. So, the idea of immorality is inherent in man. How can one discuss a subject that is unimaginable? Why should we want to discuss the pros and cons of subject that is self-evident? The whole universe, therefore, is a unit. From whatever standpoint you view it, just now is no to us. This universe is a unit of prana and akash, force and matter, and the mind you, like all other basic principle, this is also self contradictory. For what is force? For that which moves matter, and what is matter? That which is moved by force. It is a saw. Some of the fundamentals of our reasoning are most curious. In spite of our boast of science and knowledge, it is headache without head, as the Maya, as the Sanskrit proverb says. As the Sanskrit proverb says, this state of things have been called Maya. It has neither exist nor exist. You cannot call it exist because the only exist which is beyond time and space, which is the self exist. At this world satisfies to be a certain degree our idea of existence. Therefore, it has an apparent existence. But there is a real existence in and through everything, and that reality, as it were, is caught in the meshes of time, space, and causation. There is the real man, the infinite, the beginningless, the endless, ever blessed, the ever free. He has been caught in the meshes of time, space, and causation. So has everything in his world, the reality of everything in the same infinite. This is not idealism. It is not that the world does not exist. It has a relative existence and fulfills all the requirements, but it has no independent existence. It exists because of the absolute reality beyond time, space, and causation. I have made digression. I have made long digressions. Now let us turn to our main subject. All the automatic movements and all the conscious movements are the working of prana through the nerves. Now you see it will be very good thing to have control over the unconscious actions. On some other occasion, I told you the definition of man and God. Man is an infinite circle whose circumstances is now nowhere, but the center is located in one spot. And the God is an infinite circle whose circumstance is nowhere, but whose center is everywhere. He walks through all hands, sees through all eyes, walks on all feet, breathes through all bodies, lives in all life, speaks through every mouth, and thinks through every brain. Man can become like God and acquire control over the whole universe if he multiplies infinitely his center of self consciousness. Consciousness, therefore, is the chief thing to understand. Let us say that here is an infinite line and admit, amid darkness. We do not see the line, but on it there is one luminous point which moves on. As it moves along the line, it lights up its different paths in succession, and all that is left behind becomes dark again. Our consciousness may well be likened to this luminous point. Its past experiences have been replaced by the present or have become subconscious. We are not aware of their presence in us, but there they are, unconsciously influencing our body and mind. Every movement that is now being made without the help of consciousness was previously conscious. Sufficient impetus has been given to it to work of itself. The great error in all ethical system without exception has been the failure of teachings the means by which men could refrain from doing evil. All the system of ethics teach do not steal. Very good. But why does a man steal? Because all stealing, robbing and other evils actions as rules have become automatic. The systematic robber, thief, liar, unjust man and woman are all these in the spite of themselves. It is really a tremendous psychological problem. We should look upon men in the most charitable light. It is not so easy to be good. What are you but mere machine until you are free? Should you be proud because you are good? Certainly not. You are good because you cannot help. Another is bad because he cannot help it. If you were in his position, you know what you would have been. The woman in the street or the thief in the jail is the Christ that is been sacrificed for that you may be a good man. Such is the law of balance. All the thieves and the murderers, all the unjust, wickedest devils, and they are all are my Christ. I owe worship to the God Christ and to the demon Christ. That is my doctrine. I cannot help it. My salutation goes to the feet of good, the sanity, and to the feet of wicked and the devilish. They are all my teachers, all are my spiritual fathers, all are my saviors. I may curse one and yet be benefit by his failings. I may bless another and benefit by his good deeds. This is a true is as true as that I stand here. I have to sneer at a woman walking in the street because the society wants it. She, my savior, she whose street walking is causing cause of the chastity of other women's. Other think of that. Think man and woman of this question of in your mind. It is true, a bare, bold true. As I see more of the world, see more of man and woman, this conviction grows stronger. Whose shall be blamed? Whose shall I praise? Whose shall I blame? Both sides of the shield must be seen. The task before us is vast, and the first and the foremost we must seek to control the vast mass of sunken thoughts which have become automatic with us. The evil deed is no doubt on the conscious plane, but the cause which produces the evil deeds was far beyond in the realms of unconscious, unseen, and therefore more potent. Practical psychology directs first of all its energies in controlling the unconscious. And we know that we can do it. Why? Because we know the cause of unconscious is the conscious, and the unconscious thoughts are the submerged millions of our old conscious thoughts. Old conscious actions become petrified. We do not look at them, do not know them, have forgotten them. But mind you, if the power of evil is in the unconscious, so also is the power of good. We have many things or many ideas stored in us as in the pocket. We have forgotten them, do not even think of them, and there are many of them rotting, becoming positively dangerous. They come forth the unconscious causes which kill humanity. True psychology would therefore try to bring them under the control of consciousness. The great task is to revive the whole man, as it were, in the order to make him the complete master of himself. Even what we call the automatic action of the organ within our bodies, such as the liver, etc., can be made to obey our commands. This is the first part of the study, the control of the unconsciousness. The next is to go beyond the consciousness. Just as the unconscious work is beneath consciousness, so there is another work which is above consciousness. When this superconscious state is reached, man becomes free and divine. Death becomes immortality. Weakness becomes infinite power, and iron bondages become liberty. That is the goal, the infinite dream of the superconscious. So, therefore, we see now that there must be a twofold work. First, by the proper working of the Ida and Pingala, which are the two existing ordinary currents, to control the subconscious action, and secondly to go beyond even consciousness. The books say that he alone is the yogi who, after long practice in self concentration, has attained to this truth. The Sushumna now opens, and current which never before entered into the new passage will find its way into it and gradually ascend to what we call in figurative language the different lotus centers till at last it reaches to the brain. Then the yogi becomes conscious of what he really is, God Himself. Everyone without expectations, every one of us can attain to this culmination of yoga. But it is terrible task. If the person wants to attain to this truth, he will have to do something more than to listen to lectures and take few breathing exercises. Everything lies in the preparation. How long does it takes to strike a light? Only a second, but how long it takes to make the candle? How long does it takes to eat a dinner? Perhaps half an hour, but hours to prepare the food. We want to strike the light in a second, but we forget that the making of the candle is the chief thing. But though it is so hard to reach the goal, yet even our smallest attempt are not in vain. We know that nothing is lost. In the Gita, Arjun asks Krishna, those who fail in attaining perfection in yoga in this life, are they destroyed like the cloud of summer? Krishna replies, nothing, my friend, is lost in this world. Whatever one does, that remains as one's own. And if the fruition of yoga does not come in this life, one takes it up again in the next birth. Otherwise, how do you explain the marvelous childhood of Jesus, Buddha, Shankara? Breathing, posturing, etc. are no doubt helps in yoga, but they are merely physical. The great preparation are mental. The first thing necessary is a quiet and peaceable life. If you want to be a yogi, you must be free and place yourself in circumstances where you are alone and free from all anxiety. He who desires a comfortable and nice life at the same time wants the release, the self, is like the fool who, wanting to cross the river, caught hold of the crocodile, mistaking it for a long log of wood. Seek you first the kingdom of God, and everything shall be added upon you. This is the one great duty. This is the re, renunciation. This is renunciation. Live for an idea and leave no place in mind for anything else. Let us put forth all our energies to acquire that which never fails, our spiritual perfection. If we have truth yearning for realization, we must struggle, and through struggle, growth will come. We shall make mistakes, but they may be angels unaware. The greatest help to spiritual life is meditation, that is dhyan. In meditation, we divest ourselves of all matters, conditions, and feel our divine nature. We do not depend upon any external help in meditation. The touch of the soul can paint the brightest color even in the dimmest places. It can cast a fragrance over the vilest thing. It can make the wicked divine, and all enmity, all selfishness is effaced. The less the doubt of body, the better for it is the body, and drags us down. It is attachment, identification which makes us miserable. That is the secret, to think that I am a spirit and not the body. I am the spirit and not the body, and that the whole of this universe, with all its relations, with all its good and all its evil, is but as a series of painting scenes on the canvas, of which I am the witness.